on today's wrestling news, chaos on Monday Night Raw as Punk, Rollins and McIntyre go unhinged.
WWE censors YouTube segment.
Why this Raw match got scrapped from last night's show.
And WWE breaks a record 5 years in the making.
I'm Adam Wilborn.
I'm Michael Sidgwick.
And this is the news. Shall we talk about Raw, Michael Sidgwick?
For the Jonesing to talk about WWE Raw last night.
Wild show.
Unbelievable.
We're going to be talking in more detail, of course, on the Raw Review, What Culture Wrestling podcast, wherever you get your podcasts from. Miller will bring you ups and downs later on. But the two main things that people are talking about, one Michael Sidgwick will get to, and we'll start by talking about CM Punk in Chicago. 15,000 people, amazing to see it in the All-State, a great reaction. And we're all anticipating what he was going to say, how he's going to be involved in WrestleMania. I suppose technically, Sidge,
that's a news item.
Yeah, the lead story is CM Punk is going to be at WrestleMania. He's going to be the special guest commentator for the World Heavyweight Championship match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre. But enough of all of that because that's not what we're here to talk about. Apologies to our editor. That's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about the promo that went completely off the rails. Everyone seemed to go off script. To give you the cliff notes, go and watch it and then come back.
Yeah.
But to give you the cliff notes, Punk's out there cutting a promo. Drew McIntyre interrupts. Already Punk seems a little bit rattled, being like, stop playing his music, stop it, right? And then McIntyre comes round. He stands and then sits on the announce table. And Punk's talking about being the special guest referee for the World Heavyweight Championship match and says he can't do it because, to be fair, in the words of CM Punk, and I'll try and censor myself, editor, to be fair, I don't think I could be objectively fair with these two dip. Shh. He didn't say shh. He actually said the word that you should say there and got censored. Drew was like, PG, brother. Michael was like, what's going on here, mate? They go back and forth. There was a nice line, I will say, from Drew McIntyre. You don't do drugs, you don't drink, but you spend all of your time in rehab, obviously having to go at Punk always being injured. Drew McIntyre described himself at one point, as he has done on numerous occasions, of course, as the chosen one, to which Punk fired back, who named you the chosen one? Why don't you say his name right now? Referencing the fact that obviously Vince McMahon is sort of persona non grata on WWE right now with the sex trafficking allegations, which is pretty wild. There was some... we're having a lot of fun with this, right?
It got pretty ugly.
Yes, but it went a bit off the rails with sort of...
You're wearing a skirt, all that kind of just antique stuff.
And just to round this off, I'm trying to give you the cliff notes. I've inevitably missed some of the biggest parts, but at one point Punk just went, "I'll just boo him." He didn't really have a go, just boo him. And Rollins came down to interrupt all this and get into it. And at one point he said, "Do you want to know what sorry, I'm bouncing all over the place."
It's all right, it was crazy.
Drew called him Phil on several occasions, right? And Seth at one point said, "Do you want to know what I think, Punk?" Punk just went, "No." So... Thoughts?
He completely dog-walked Seth Rollins and he was rattled by Drew McIntyre. As succinctly as I can manage, right, the energy generated within this segment was, when you watch, and I know these things are, loosely scripted or whatever, but there are some times when it just goes completely off the rails in a similar fashion.
Yeah.
This reminded me of some kind of celebrity reality show when things just go completely awry and you've got these incredibly huge egos who decide just to combust in this one incredibly chaotic scene.
An award show where they've both got microphones.
It was just...
And they go, we'll go back and forth, but don't reference that. Yeah. And then they do reference that and they go, well, that's why your wife left you.
It was...
I'm sorry, I'm just going to do what Punk did halfway through the thing.
Go on.
He just lied down. Just went, go on, Sage, carry on.
Well, I don't really know where to begin with this, and I'm going to have a good 10 minutes, I think, on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast from.
Get back up,
but in a bit of a preview of sorts, it felt like there were 3 corn cobs in that ring insisting over and over and over and over again that they had not, in fact, been owned. It was this incredibly wild, quite ugly, childish segment Childish is the word. It was just incredibly childish. I would describe this as incredible TV.
Yes.
Not necessarily good, well-crafted art,
Yeah.
but just incredible television in that sort of gonzo, this has just gone insane, only on live TV, folks, kind of way. Childish is definitely the word, though, because you had CM Punk in there. And it just felt like whenever Drew was like even motioning to say something, he was like, time limit was 1 second, actually. No, you did not get your jibe in time. At one point, he tried to feed the crowd into doing a CM Punk
Yes.
chant. They didn't get it because they were probably just like we are, like the thoughts pinballing all over the place. That rattled them all the more. You don't want to rattle CM Punk. Look, I don't know what's happened here at all. It was just, I would like to think that, I don't know, this wasn't acted. This was incredibly awkward at various points. And like, to try not to be too much of a snarky twat about it, right? I've seen clips of, what's it called? Girl on the Third Floor? House on the Third Floor?
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, CM Punk's not that good at acting. He just isn't. This was so phenomenally awkward. I'd like to think of myself as a half-decent wrestling analyst. I think you need a therapist's license to truly unpack everything that was going on within this segment. It would appear to me, by how quickly he wanted that music off, by how many times he just tried to interject, just jump down Drew McIntyre's throat before he can even complete a thought. Drew McIntyre wore the smile of a face of a man who's like, I cannot believe this. I've enjoyed it, right? But it's very BTE light patter that he's been doing.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm at Mindy's Bakery. Oh, I'm playing his song. It's fun, but we're not talking, you know, the most like transgressive heel stuff imaginable. And it would appear that CM Punk has not enjoyed Drew McIntyre's campaign over the last few months, or maybe he deserves the maximum credit. He has done the best possible job of just pretending that he's not owned.
Good news is Drew McIntyre...
Don't put in the newspaper that he was mad. He wasn't mad.
No. The good news is Drew McIntyre can now sell his house because he can just live in CM Punk's head rent-free.
Jeez, this is something. Go and watch it if you are. Say if you're an AEW-leaning fan and you don't really watch Raw, and go and watch it.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable television. Ugly, awkward, but I'm saying as a television experience as opposed to this well-crafted segment. Whoa.
If you like chaos, by the way, be just the same with this. We're going to. I'm
Don't mad at us.
I'm going to start shooting jibes at Hamfler. Yeah, well, you got a big square head, so come on. Join us for It's Always Sunny at What Culture on day 2 of WrestleMania, lunchtime on day 2 of WrestleMania. Plenty of time. We're all heading over for night 2, so don't worry if you're worried about missing that. Join us, Underground Arts in Philadelphia, whatculture.com/tickets. VIP tickets sold out. General admission, though, still available. And more of what you saw with the CM Punk, Rollins and McIntyre segment. But thankfully, after that, Sige, things calmed down and there was nothing sensationalist that happened on Monday Night Raw.
No.
So what's your next story again?
Also, on Monday Night Raw, The Rock made a surprise appearance, and then after an absolutely incredible Cody Rhodes promo, where he struck the balance perfectly of, I've been kind of the best babyface over the past few months. I'm incredibly magnanimous, basically the best guy in the world, but I don't want any credit for it.
Yeah.
Written down, you'd think, you're trying to brag. But it just came off so well, and then The Rock made that surprise appearance, interrupted, and then they dwelled in that moment. They luxuriated in that atmosphere. Chicago was white hot, particularly for the talking segments. It was a really, really great 3-hour show. Looking forward to drilling into it on the podcast. They come face to face. Again, they dwell, they luxuriate, and then Rock goes...
I actually know what he said. I've rewound it and slowed it down and read his lips. He said, does it smell like up dog in here?
What's up, dog?
Yes! God.
Oh, son of a bitch.
People speculated he said, I'm going to make you bleed tonight.
Well, he certainly did. He certainly did. So The Rock retreats. It's like, oh, what's going on here? And then following the Jey Uso, Shinsuke Nakamura match, there's a bloodline melee. This eventually splinters off to The Rock and Cody having a big fight backstage. And they shoot, on WWE television, a pretty basic but incredible old school wrestling angle where The Rock just kicks the living crap out of Cody in the rain outside next
rain
to
made
his
it so
bus.
aesthetic,
Yeah,
didn't it?
just such an aesthetically pleasing choice. By Cody's truck, The Rock repeatedly repeatedly rams Cody's head into it, drawing blood. Cody Rhodes has run the razor on WWE programming, and YouTube upload permits it.
Yeah.
That's good. Our thumbnails are going to get way better from now on.
I'm just
looking forward to that.
Me and Andy are going to start hardweighing on the news every morning.
Yeah. Just like blood's allowed on YouTube. But what isn't, as first detected, I think, by PW Insider, is within the attack, Rock gets a trash can and starts braying Cody with it. And that's freeze frame. Okay, can't do that.
Yeah.
You can't do that.
That's the line.
You can... I love the logic of wrestling and censorship, right? Basically, you are not allowed to wildly swing a chair at someone's head. Don't do that.
No.
Head trauma. Realistically, I mean, don't do that.
That makes
or at
sense,
least that often. Not allowed to do that. What you can do, and I've seen it in WWE loads and AEW loads, is that you allow to sandwich a chair between the top and middle turnbuckle and go, well, I'm not moving the chair. I'm just going to get you by the belt or the back of the tights and ram you in there.
Yeah.
That's fine.
If your head's moving towards the chair rather than the chair moving towards your head, no problem.
It's like the Simpsons joke.
Yeah.
Of like, hey, if you're that pie, it's not my fault. I'm just going to... So basically, you are not allowed to wildly swing an aluminium, pretty basic bin at someone's head, right? Not allowed. You are, however, allowed, right, to get someone's head against a much harder surface of the side of a bus and launch it in there. What's the difference?
His own dog as well, basically, he's got him thrown into him, wasn't it?
Cannot wait.
Also, coincidence that there was Stone Cold Steve Austin on?
I cannot wait for Cody versus The Rock.
It was the coincidence that there was Stone Cold Steve Austin on the truck watching over all this?
Probably.
I
mean, they don't really update their trucks very often.
yeah.
That's missing from this sort of, we're going to get the Avengers.
Yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if it was like, oh my God, watch over, it's Stone Cold, he could be involved in the Bloodline Rules match. John Cena, he could be involved in the Bloodline Rules match. And then it'd probably be like, I don't know, Santino Marella's going to get involved as well. But yeah, I don't really have much to add to what you've said. This was just class. We'll talk more about it later. It'll probably get a golden up with Simon Miller's ups and downs.
Don't put words in his mouth.
But if he doesn't, I'm going to kick his ass. And that's going to be the first thing that kicks off. Well, at least I've got hair. So, I mean, for the time being, it's all going eventually. Anyway, right, let's move on.
You are full of them.
I'm full of beans today off the back of this. I'm so excited to talk about it. We'll fly through the last couple of
I think he's
stories.
just relieved that I'm going to, enjoy talking about Raw.
Yeah, it's just me and him today. Hamlet's off. Bloody square-headed twat. Right, I'm joking.
Boring taste, idiot. Biased moron.
Annoyingly, Ivar wasn't on last night's Monday Night Raw. He was scheduled to face Andrade. We here at What Culture are huge fans of Ivar.
Big Ivar guy.
Particularly Viking rules matches.
In boats.
Yes.
I love the Viking rules matches, man.
Adam Pearce, you may have seen, announced that Ivar was medically unable to compete, and obviously his place was taken in the match against Andrade by Giovanni Vinci. Fightful Select. Giovanni Vinci.
Thank you.
Fightful Select have been asking about Ivar's status. They've been told even that he's fine, expecting to be back in the ring in quick fashion. No idea exactly what is keeping him out of the ring. But should be soon. We should see him back on television very soon, which is a relief because he's brilliant.
Nice class. It would be a relief if he was rubbish or not. But the fact is, Ivar is one of the most fun mid-card wrestlers in the entire industry at this point. I think he's a great watch.
Absolutely. One final thing to talk about on last night's Raw.
Yes, absolutely. According to WrestleTix, who take care of the data.
That's it.
WWE Raw, which emanated from the Allstate Arena in Chicago, Illinois last night, has broken a 5-year record. In that, for the first time in 5 years, a WWE live gate topped out at over 15,000 punters. And during the best moments of this show, you could absolutely hear them very, very much. I think the last time they achieved this feat was in 2019 in Brooklyn.
Oh, we were there.
Barclays Center. Well, I wasn't. I went to them.
What Culture? Yeah, it was there collectively.
Yeah, well, I wasn't. So, but no, it's just, I love. Did you see that CM Punk digital exclusive? Just a credit for the house.
Oh, was it?
It's like, I mean, I get it, you're from Chicago, but it would have been a good house anyway. Regardless, great house. WWE continues to be in absolutely red hot form ahead of WrestleMania 40. They are in a boom period, and Michael Hamflett, our erstwhile colleague, well, he's not erstwhile, but he was gutted not to fly out.
I saw that tweet.
It's just like, he wants to go, he wants to be like the Grateful, you know how there's like the Deadheads?
Yes.
Who go and see
Yeah.
the Grateful Dead. Michael Hamflett is an aspirational Fedhead. He just wants to follow them. Or like the WWE Saturday Night's main event.
Yeah.
Like Tulsa and these places.
It's amazing the numbers that WWE are pulling out right now, selling out SmackDown's left, right, and centre, of course, and now a fantastic gate for CM Punk, and I didn't even know The Rock's going to be there. The Rock is scheduled to be on Raw next week, of course, so God knows what they're going to do for that one as well. But yeah, wrestling is popular, wrestling's cool, and so are we. Right, let's move on to Twitter. I don't know where that was coming from.
Philippines.
Twitter questions, yeah.
You calm down.
First question today comes from Hammerhead Vasquez, aka Eric Vasquez. Great first name. I'm going out on a limb and predicting Roman being the guy that dominates the tag, but Rock loses to Cody. The whole plan is full because The Rock couldn't hang. Roman pie faces The Rock to end night one. We talked a lot about it, but how do you see night one finishing?
No offence, Eric, you're a day oneer, and I will appreciate you until my dying breath, but that is not happening. And if it is, I'll do that. But if you look at what The Rock's done so far, and we'll go into this more on the Raw Review, wherever you get your podcast from, is that even though technically Cody has to, in fact, defeat Roman Reigns, this is all forgotten about now, in night 2 of WrestleMania, The Rock's final boss. The Rock's the one who gets to swear. He gets to do the cool territory angles. He is reducing Roman Reigns' star aura, the extent to which it's all on purpose. I mean, he's got to know what he's doing. He's got to know what he's doing here. He's just loving it. He is back in the saddle. He's doing everything possible, even things beyond the guidelines, to get himself over. And, you know, it'll be a shock if The Rock loses and takes that fall. I mean, I don't know who does. I mean, I think the Bloodline win.
I agree.
But
I think that's what fans actually, even if you want, like me, want to see Cody finish the story, night one, you kind of want the Bloodline to win because you want the chaos of Bloodline rules.
I just think The Rock isn't doing a job. I mean, everything we know about top stars in wrestling, The Rock, if he'd somehow forgotten, has reminded us of what a shark tanker is, how sort of toxic it can be, how sort of, well, I'm all right, Jack, it can be a very, very, very cutthroat is the word I'm really trying to reach for there, and he's not doing a job.
You having Roman pin Cody on night one?
Seth's collateral, isn't he?
Yeah, that's the other thing I was thinking of. You can say, oh, he's tweaked something, and then he gets pinned, and it's like, oh, we all know where this is going on night two. My sources, you know, I've got my little birds out in WWE. You know, you want to see The Rock versus Cody Rhodes. My sources tell me that match is happening. Not going to be simple, you know, 1 fall to a finish match. Not going to be submission or anything like that. Not going to even be. It's going to be a sort of variation of an I Quit match. And the thing is, to lose or to win, I should say, you simply have to do one thing. You have to get the mic, go to your opponent, and say, "What's my motherfucking name?" And they have to say your name, and then you win. Right,
He's the best.
Mark Solid says, morning legends, thoughts on what you want to see Jack Perry do out of these 3 options? Number 1,
I've got the options.
stay in New Japan and dominate there. Number 2, go to TNA. Number 3, go to WWE and continue his war with CM Punk. I just don't see him back in AEW unless maybe joining the Patriarchy, Elite, or MJF.
It's a weird one. I almost feel sorry for the guy. I've mentioned this more than once, but he has an otherwise pretty sparkling record as a professional. But I think what's happened, and again, I'm not a therapist, maybe I should have done that as my chosen vocation. It feels like he has just quietly seethed and made brawl out, and, you know, the collision post-match, post-taping promos, and the fact that that sentiment never went away, and we know or have learned or have been told that he's like quite tight-knit with the Young Bucks. Maybe on their behalf, he's just seethed and just never really let go. And then on the biggest stage, at the worst possible moment, he's decided to boil over. And I think that, is it fair for him to have his entire career inextricably tied to CM Punk? I'm not convinced, but that's the genuine like, no pun intended, cult of personality surrounding Punk. If you become, like, sort of in his maw or linked to him, you don't get away from that. You just don't. And that's how powerful Punk is as a talking point, as a personality. So I don't know, because the thing is with with New Japan, it's one of those where that company's name has got this aura, this credibility, and it seems like an easy shorthand. I'm guilty of it as well. I want Hook to go on excursion there. But what is New Japan anymore? It's in decline. Some of the output this year has been actively terrible. It's no longer this place where someone can ply their trade, improve, get that sort of cool factor by associating, like Moxley did in 2019. Yeah. I mean, that entity that was New Japan no longer exists. TNA'd itself in record time after the rebrand. There are no real indies to speak of. One of the worst things about the modern scene is that a lot of the time it's AEW or nothing, or WWE or nothing. Yeah. So I'd go to the Fed. I would love some kind of match, even if this is ultimately a subplot, that feeds properly into the brawl out.
Yeah.
I would like that personally. So, dream scenario, you know what, I really like that idea.
Yeah, I think the saving grace of New Japan right now, because I agree with what you're saying, despite not being anywhere near as knowledgeable about it as you are, is you've got that Forbidden Door window that it's not a window's door, obviously. You've got that opportunity.
Door?
You've got that opportunity at Forbidden Door.
What is the answer? No.
To have Jack Perry return to AEW, and especially with the EVPs the way they are, and the Cali clique and all that, there's an opportunity there at least. Yeah, I don't think, and I know there's like talk about him wanting his release and what have you. I think, I do feel sorry for him, like you say, because everyone else has just moved on past it and is fine now.
He's had a moment of madness. I CM Punk's fine.
Yeah, in terms of actually being featured on television. Yeah. But I'm hoping that in a few months, I can't remember when Forbidden Door even is this year, but by the time it rolls around, I hope.
You blame Tony Khan for it.
Yeah.
He didn't address the core issues. He tried to bury his head in the sand. He tried to have these two untenable shows, Dynamite and Collision, that were never ever going to exist in the way he had planned. There's a lot of blame to go around, and it's been the case since 5th of September 2022, whenever the hell it bloody was.
Right, final question for you, or even a pitch here from Ernest Gauker. Ernest, this is a great shout. I love this. What do you think of his idea? The Motor City Machine Guns should get a shock debut at WrestleMania 40 in the multi-man ladder match. The guys are amazing and deserve a WWE run. They are free from their contracts on April 1st.
Indeed, and that would mirror, obviously, the Hardys stuff at WrestleMania 33. If I'm being completely cynical here, I'm not sure how much of a pop they would get.
We'd pop, but that's fair.
I think there'd be like a lot of people in that building who would realise how instrumental they were, how really unheralded they are in the rise of modern pro wrestling, because they've been toiling in relative obscurity for the last however many years. They've never really had that big breakthrough run in a major. I think the people who would be there and would know them and would respect them would lose their minds. I just worry about how many it would be. We've talked extensively about how the complexion of the WWE audience these days is very, very different to what it once was, in that, the people who hijacked really have migrated over to AEW. The people who wanted to project their version of what WWE should be onto WWE decided, well, AEW's more for me, and that's absolutely fine. How many times have we seen in recent weeks and months CM Punk try to do some kind of brawl-out reference that has fallen completely flat? Even Cody Rhodes referenced the Bullet Club on SmackDown, and Bullet Club has been recognised time and time again within WWE, and that didn't really work. I just don't think these modern WWE fans care much about wrestling beyond WWE, whereas previously when I was a big WWE fan and I would know of other promotions and follow other promotions, I would say, oh, great, Shinsuke Nakamura's going to NXT as an example. I know what he can do, looking forward to seeing what he can do here. It doesn't feel like this modern WWE crowd, and there's nothing wrong with this, I'm just pointing it out, has that sort of desire or inclination to follow other wrestling.
Yeah, I think there's two things that you're right in terms of if you get. I think it's a great idea, Ernest, but I don't think they're going to do it for the two reasons I'm about to say. the bar is the Hardys. Two things. Number one, you're not going to match that pop.
No, and it will only, contrast wouldn't do it any favours.
And number two, the Hardys came in and won. And I don't think you ever, if you debut a big team there, they're not coming in and winning it. It's going to be someone like Awesome Truth or DIY who've been plotted out to win this. I think they could be a great Raw after WrestleMania debut.
Yeah, I'm not
you'd
saying
have that same audience there. Yeah. You wouldn't have that pressure on it. All you'd need is... pick Austin Theory and Grayson Waller being like, we should have bloody won that bloody ladder match. We're better than every goddamn tag team in the BIC. And then you have them debut, and then you can just have them win straight out of the gate.
I'm not saying they don't deserve the moment.
No.
I just don't think the moment is ideal under current conditions.
Right, fair enough. We've discussed a lot on today's news video. I'd love to know your thoughts on it. Please have it out in the comments section below. Like, share, subscribe. And after you've done all that, why don't you check out this video right here. We'll see you soon.